Jane Pacetti.
Where's y'all's hats? She better get you some. I mean, these types of hats are going to keep the mosquitoes off of you, you know? Yeah, they don't call it Mosquito Inlet for nothing. I remember Mama, what she used to do in our little place at the Spruce Creek. She used to take her a wooden box full of moss and get it all smoking good, you know? And then she'd hand it to me and she'd say, Martha Jane, you just take that box all through the little house, and that's what I did. And those mosquitoes went right out the window. I don't know which was worse though, whether it was worse with mosquitoes or the smoke. You can wear mine if you want, honey. Now, let me tell you what them Indians did. They always right smart about things. Them Indians, they take them a palm tree root out of a palmetto, you know, dig it up, let it dry, and then light it to smoking like that, and get those mosquitoes right out. So keep that in mind. Always keep this one around, just in case your hat don't work. Oh my goodness. I'm right glad you could join me today and sit a spell. And I've been working all day, and I think I'm just going to take a break and talk to you. Let me see now. I should have enough time to talk. Yep. Not quite 12 o'clock yet, so I got dinner, you know, I got dinner to serve the rich people out there. Yeah, they just love coming here. So we can get a chance to chat a little bit. They come down from Mr. Flagler's hotels, you know, the big fancy hotels. And they just love to come over to the Pacetti Hotel, they call it. The Pacetti place. They just love to go out fishing with Bartola, my old man. And I call him that because he is. I was 14 and I married him, he being 44. He's my old man. Bless his heart, though. They call him the king of the Halifax River. That man can catch any fish you want. I mean, people come here from the north and tell him, well, I want this type of fish. Mr. Bartola, and he gets it for him within a quarter mile of our place. He can catch you fresh, he can catch you salt. He's just amazing. So people keep coming down here and staying in our boarding house and eating my food. Oh my, I love to cook fish. It's a good thing, because I have a lot of fish to cook. And people just love to eat my specialty. Sheep's head with a cream sauce over it. I steam it. Oh, the rich people just love it. And Bartola, he got me a great big kingfish today. I've seen it. He'll clean it in a little cleaning house, bring it right into me in the kitchen, all nice and clean, and I put it right in the pan. Oh my, it's good eating. Good eating. And there's every kind of fish you'd ever want around here. And I love to cook them all. In fact, we're at dinner tonight. Ida's in the back right now. She's cooking up a big pot full of black-eyed peas. Y'all like black eyes?
Oh,
Yeah. You remember what happened when the Yankees come here? And they decide they just tear up all the food, all the gardens, all the farms, all the food's gone. They'd eat it or just flat out destroy it. But they didn't do that to the black eyes because they thought we were feeding it to our animals. Now, who feeds black-eyed peas? They're animals. You can eat them. So we practically lived on it. And I got plenty of them. And tomatoes, best tomatoes you ever had. I serve them for every meal. I either serve them raw or I fry them up. Fried green tomatoes. Look for breakfast tomorrow. And breakfast, now you got to start breakfast good and big because these people are going out fishing all day long. So I can give them eggs from our chickens. But what they really like are them turtle eggs. So I get the children. My children just love to do this. And they run on into the dunes, and they have sticks. And they stick it down in the sand. They stick it until they feel a soft spot. They stick it down in there and they pull it up. And, well, if they see yolk on it, they know that there's eggs down in there. And those youngins just dig like little heathens and bring me up a passel of them eggs. Now, if you like meat, You got that too, not just fish. We got deer, of course, from the Indians. They bring that in fresh. Oh, we got the hogs, we got the boars, plenty of ham whenever you want it. And we got some of the wild critters too, if that's where your taste is. In fact, what Bartola does about this time of year when it's cold, he likes to go out in the woods with their lights, the men do, and shine the lights, the torches, up in the trees. And when they see the shine on the eyes of the raccoons, they just start shooting. And Bartola, he takes the musk out of the raccoon's arms, and he skins it for me, brings it on in the kitchen. Now, I cut it up, and then I boil it. I boil it twice. You have to, you do. Then I fry it up, and then I put it in the baking pan with onions and peppers. I'll tell you what, that's good eating. That's good eating. So you might like to try that if you haven't before. Now, something I would never try is possum. I've seen a possum come crawling out of the belly of a dead cow when I was just a young'un. And it took me, I'll never get over that. I never eat possum after that. Now, sometimes the Yankees will say to us, Miss Martha Jane, y'all eat alligator and y'all eat snakes. I thought, well, now why don't we be eating alligator when we can put a line in off the dock and pull up a crab? Any fish you want. Why would we eat an alligator? And as far as eating a snake, now we got plenty of snakes around here. We do. And I find that you just leave them go. And they'll leave you go. Except you got to be careful now. You got to be careful of one type of snake, and that's a water moccasin. You heard that? Yeah. My mama always said, you smell cucumber? You smell cucumber, Martha Jane? And there's one of them around. Those water moccasins are mean. They'll chase you. They will. If you're out, say you're out in a little boat, and you go under the tree branches there, and one's up above, it'll just hop right into your boat. Just to bite you. Just as nasty. A friend of mine told me the story. He and his friend were out in a little boat, and he dipped his oar in, and when it came out, his friend had a water moccasin on the end of it. It had bitten onto the oar. Oh, he threw that down in the center of the boat, and then he pulled out his gun, and he fired it. He'd rather do that than get bitten by a water moccasin. So you never know what you're going to be eating around here. But it's going to be fresh. And we're real well known for that. And I'll tell you what, my husband, Bartola Pacetti, they called him the king of the Halifax River because of his fishing, because of his boat building, because of his guiding. People come from all over the United States now. Now, we started off small, but now we're known for all the way up in the north. People come here and they spend some time fishing and going out on a tropical boat and looking at the wilderness that's Florida, and they go back and tell their friends, and it's in the papers. They send us cuttings. It's in the paper. Can't believe it. Well, it's true. It is true. Now, what? I never stop working. I gotta keep working. I gotta either put up fruit. Gotta clean the house. Gotta change the linens. Gotta do all of this. So the folks will still keep coming back. And they do. Oh, it's just a wonderful thing here. They really like it. They really do. First time I saw it, though. First time I saw it here, I thought to myself, it's a whole lot of nothing. I stood there looking at the water of the Halifax River as it turns into the inlet. A whole lot of nothing. But it's been worth it. First time I met Bartola. Now Bartola was famous before I even came along. Bartola, you see, he's a Menorcan. Y'all know what Menorcans are? Interesting folks. Most people think of them as in St. Augustine because that's what they did. They fled here from New Smyrna and went all the way up to St. Augustine to get away from the man that was Turnbull, who was treating them poorly. So Bartola's people, well, they went to St. Augustine and they did real well. And there's a whole bunch of them there right now. Now, Andreas Pacetti, this is what Bartola told me, was his grandpapa, and he married Gertruda Ponce, and Pons, and that's what the inlet's named for, Pons Inlet, Pons Park. Yeah, that's right. Well, anyway, they got to St. Augustine, and this was a long time ago, and they got a hold of some land grants here in what they call Daytona today. Mr. Day came and named it, and so his grandfather, he got a hold of a lot of land over by Pons Park. Hundreds of acres of land, as did some of his other relatives. They say over 500 acres. And so they thought, well, let's just live up there. The Menorcans were saying it's from St. Augustine, so they came on up. The Pacettis did, and they came on down. They made a home for them. They made a home for them over there. And you see what happened was this. This was during the Indian Wars. That's a terrible thing. It was before my time. I was born in 46. Before my time, thank you God. And the Indians, they were attacking everything. They burned down plantations, sugar mills, people's homes. Why, they even looked into my little house over on Spruce Creek, and they shot 2 of my sisters with arrows. They were sitting down at dinner. I never met those sisters because I wasn't born yet, but that's what it was like. It was very fearful. So the Pacettis that were living there, they were frightened. There were bad goings on. So they left that land grant. They moved back to St. Augustine. Only one of them didn't, and that was Bartola. You see, Bartola, he knew how to handle the Indians. He gets along real well with the Indians because he lets them fish and shrimp and hunt. And he talks to them. He treats them with some dignity. The war's over now, and seems to how they get along all right. Yeah. So Bartola, he decided he's just going to stay there, and he built himself a little tiny house out of driftwood and such, a little wooden house, and it's on the inlet, real close to the river itself, and and well, he was there by himself for a long time, till he decided he needed himself a wife. First time I seen Bartola, he come walking up in our little dirt yard at the Spruce Creek, our little house there. I was right glad that I had gotten out there with my rake the night before and raked it. We do that every night to see if the snakes have come in during the night to get out of the cold. None of them had that day. So I watched Bartola come walking up. I'm sitting up on the porch, holding my baby brother in one hand, rocking him, and I was shelling peas at the same time. And I was swatting at mosquitoes, and I was humming a tune. And I expect Bartola looked at me, and he thought to himself, that girl can do all those things at once. She'd make me a good wife. So I just sat there. And he walked up past me, gave me a nod, and went on in to talk to Daddy. And Mama came out. And she was carrying one of the babies and sat down next to me. And we were rocking there for a moment. And she says to me, she said, Martha Jane, you're 14 years old now, honey. And it's time you found yourself a husband and had babies of your own. get you some young'uns. She said, I had 16 young'uns myself, Mama did. Of course, not all of them ever lived, but you know. I thought that was good advice. And then she says to me, and Martha Jane, you will never go hungry with Bartola Pacetti. And she was right. She was right. Well, I'm going to be a married woman, I thought. I'm going to be a married woman. And we got wet. It was a chilly afternoon. And we got wet over at the old Dunlawton sugar mill. Y'all know where that is? It's just ruins now. The Indians got to it and just ruined it. But there's some folks still living there, the Andersons, and we got married there. Well, it was right chilly that afternoon, I recall. When Bartola, he took me down there to the shore, got on his boat. It was choppy, too. I ain't never been across the river before. And I looked back behind me, and the sun was setting all red. Oh, and then I looked forward to where I was going to live. Oh my, it was mighty dark. And I thought to myself, I might not ever see my people again. So we got to the edge. He helped me out of the boat, and I stumbled over my skirts, my long skirts, and Bartola just laughed, and he helped me, took my arm and walked me into the house. It has 2 rooms just for us. And he said, stay right there, and he lighted the fire. Oh my, 2 rooms. And that night, Bartola, he laid with me. And I'll tell you, he was right gentle. The next morning, sun come up, and he's getting ready to go fishing, of course. And I says to him, Bartola, wait just a minute, honey. And I went over to my sewing basket, and I got out my scissors. Because Bartola, he's a great big man with a lot of black hair and a great big beard. Well, I took care of that. He's still a big man, but he looks a whole lot better. And sent him on his way. And I walked out and looked at the river. It's right beautiful. It's so quiet. There's no roads. Ain't no people. Only the roar of the ocean. A whole lot of nothing. Oh my. What am I going to do here? And that's when Bartola told me he's going to teach me how to fish. He said, you're going to be cooking that fish, and now first of all, you got to learn how to catch it. That was right exciting. So I went about learning and Bartola, he could catch fish anyway with traps or lines, or I swear he could hold out his hand and catch them. It was right amazing. And he was the one that told me to put a piece of squirrel meat on the end of a string down at the end of the dock, and the crab will hang on to it. But he took me down to the ocean. He showed me the old Minorca way. You wrap the cord around your hand, your left hand, and you walk into the surf, and then you take it and take the line with the weight on the end of it, and you spin it around, let it go boom, out there, and a fish catches on it. Whoa! And then you run, you turn around, and you run as fast as you can up into the dunes. That's right fun. So I learned how to fish, and I learned how to cook. Oh my, now what's going to happen? Well, people were coming over to get Bartola to take him out fishing, even back then. So we did have some guests, some visitors. Not very many, but it was starting to happen. But I have to tell you, I was right lonely in the beginning. I missed my people, something awful. So I was right pleased when I found out I was going to have my baby. Oh, yes. I was going to have my baby. My little boy. Bartolo's the only one there to help me. I swear there were tears in his eyes. Oh, my little boy. He's got Bartolo's dark hair and eyes. I took him with me everywhere. Everywhere I went. Oh my, I wasn't lonely anymore. Oh my. So one day though, the day that it happened, I was washing some of the clothing, and I went out to the clothesline. It was out on the west side of the house there, under the trees, and I set him down. He was in his little basket, and I set him down. I said, "You be good now. I'm right over here putting up the linens." And I was doing it. It was a sunny day. It was a beautiful day. And then I heard it. I heard him before I saw him. I heard the sound of them wild pigs. And wild pigs come right out of the woods there, and they ran over and they snatched my baby and ran into the woods before I could even get a shot off after them. My baby was gone. Bartolo knew. We ran through the woods. We ran through the woods all day, and the next day I've never seen him again. Never seen my baby again. My little baby. And now Bartolo tells me, we gotta leave. We gotta leave Ponce Inlet. It's cause of the war. You've heard of that? The war of northern aggression, they call it. I don't know myself much about it. In fact, I never saw a colored person in my life. I have now, but not back then. Heard tell it was about making them slaves and such, but we didn't have anybody like that here. But they said they're trying to take the rights of the states away. So our men had to fight. Of course they did. Well, we were living in the South, so we fought for the South. Bartolo said to me, he said, "It's getting right dangerous around here, Martha Jane." You see, what happened was some of our boys had been making salt right there in the ocean front, right near where we are. There's lack of salt during the war. So they're drying it out of the salt water there, and the Union boys, they were firing on them, and also they took to blockading our inlet, so nobody could come in and out of it. So some of our boys, they went up there and they went into little hidden tiny old spaces. Everybody's firing guns at each other. It's all you heard was guns, guns, guns. And Bartolo said to me, he said, "Martha Jane, it's too dangerous for you here, honey. I'm going to take you out to Spruce Creek to stay with your people until this is over. I'll come see you whenever I can." He said, "I'm going to sink my boat so they can't get a hold of it." So I went to stay with my people. Bartolo went to war. He's in the militia like most of the boys were around here. And actually they had an encampment. They had an encampment over at the Dunlawn plantation. And when it was safe, I got to go over there and see him a few times. And he was true to his word. He came over to my people's place, and we got to visit a few times there. By the time the war was over, I'd given birth to two children, two young'uns, two boys. My Douglas and my Henry were born. And then finally that tragic war came to an end, and everything changed. Now Mama says change is good tonic, And I tried to remember that best as I could. As we went back, we went on back. Now, Bartola, he started building onto the little house. Now that we had 2 young'uns there, and well, I did what I could. I cooked and I cleaned and I canned, and I did it all over again. And I kept having babies. Bartola, our little Bartola, we called him Bert, was born. You know, next boy. I'll tell you what, I kept busy. And Bartola, what he did now, he took his boat out, and we started having all sorts of visitors come over to the Pacetti house, and they wanted a place to stay. They wanted to go fishing with Bartola so bad, they wanted to spend a week. And so Bartola thought, well, why don't I just build me some little rooms that they can stay in? And one thing led to another. Pretty soon he had some nice rooms there. And we had a boarding house. The Pacetti boarding house came to life. Oh my, so now I'm raising the children and cooking for people. And boys, they like my food. Yes, they did. Oh my. Yes, it's a hard life, but it's worth it. It's worth it here. It's I can see why those rich people come here. It is right beautiful. Except in the summer, of course. Yes, indeedy. Well, now, Bartola was mighty busy. He's catching fish, huge fish. Have you seen the tarpons? Those fish are almost as tall as a man. Now let me ask you this, why would a man want to catch one of them? You can't eat them. They just like to take them out, measure them, and watch them die. Huh. If I catch a fish, I'm going to eat it. Oh my. Yes, I make biscuits. I love biscuits. I make biscuits to go with my black eyes, and I make cornbread too. You know why we make cornbread here? Well, we make, oh, look at that stain. Well, we make cornbread because we don't have much white flour. So we do have cornmeal. So we use cornmeal a lot. We make cornbread. We make hush puppies from it. Y'all know about hush puppies? Mighty good. I like a little bit of butter on mine. Well, hush puppies, they started off when the women beating back, cooking up in the kitchen, and the dogs will come in, and they will do that, and they'll start messing with you and bothering and begging and so forth. So you want them to just, some days it's hot, you want them to leave you alone. So you roll up a little ball of cornmeal, fry it up, and when the dogs come in bothering you, just take a hold of one of them fried up balls and you toss it. You say, hush, puppy. True, it's true. Well, my goodness. After the war, a lot of the Yankees decided to stay here. The officers that came down to fight, and some of the boys stayed here too. There was one businessman. He was a doctor, actually, Dr. Hawks, Dr. James Hawks. And what he did was he rented some acreage from us, it was just north of our house, and he decided what he wanted to do was to sell live oak for the shipbuilders, because they'd used it for centuries. But he brought down 400 colored people to work in it, and they were freed slaves. He gave them jobs, and they built little houses and so forth. And unfortunately, he found out that, well, the government's not using metal ships anymore. I mean, they're not using wood ships; they're using metal ones. So there went his business. So he had named that little spot that he was working out of. He named it Orange Port. It was right next to our place at Pacetti boarding house there. So Dr. Hawk, what he did was he took all his people across the river, across to Halifax. He set up business there. And he went into the citrus business and a number of other businesses too. But he decided, once he had done that he would change the name from Orange Port to Port Orange. Port Orange. Had been called Dunlawton, obviously, for the plantation. So, now we have all sorts of people, because none of the African families stayed. And that's how I got to meet Jesse and Ida Lindsay. Two of the finest people you'd ever want to meet. Oh my. Yes, they were freed slaves, and they came down and they worked for Mr. Hawk, and when his business changed, they decided to stay on at the inlet there, because Jesse started working for Bartola. Now we have all sorts of people coming down and visiting, and Jesse needed help. Bartola did, and Jesse was perfect. He's big, tall, strong, biggest man I ever seen. And Bartola's not small. But Jesse was huge and strong as an ox. I heard tell that he could row a boat out of the inlet, turn around and row it back in, all by himself. I know. His feet are so big he can't wear store-bought shoes without cutting the ends off of them. He's a quiet man, but just as nice as you can imagine. Oh yeah, he loves to fish so much he'll fish all day with Bartola, and then at night he'll go out on the end of the dock and fish some more. Oh, but it's his wife, Ida, my friend Ida. Well, Ida come to work over here, and we took to cooking together. And she's a fine cook. In fact, she's nearly as fine a cook as I am. In fact, I think we taught each other a thing or two, Ida and me. Now, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking, what with Ida and me being as close as sisters to one another. Her being black and all. But I'll tell you this, that's one of the finest women I ever knew. She is like a sister to me. She's a fine woman, and I call her a friend. And they moved into our house, our boarding house. By this time, we'd left that little house. Bartola had built it bigger, so now we had rooms to rent. He put a second story up on it, and Ida and Jesse come in and they live in one of the rooms. Ida was with me when I gave birth to my little daughter, Seraphine. And Ida and I were together with Seraphine when she gave birth to her little girl. Oh my family's getting bigger and bigger, isn't it? It is indeed. Well, like I said, all sorts of folks are coming down here and staying. And it's gotten a real good reputation, you know, the Pacetti Hotel. It was Pacetti Boarding House, but now they're starting to call it the Pacetti Hotel. Well, I'll tell you what, on the day that my little Seraphine gave birth to her daughter, it was the same day that they lighted the lighthouse for the very first time. And that changed everything. Oh my, that lighthouse, that's the most beautiful thing I ever seen in my life. That light on a dark night looks like the jewel on a rich lady's dress. Oh, see what happened was, well, y'all know in New Smyrna, there was a little old lighthouse there that took to falling apart shortly after it was put up, because it's a dangerous inlet. That Ponce Inlet's dangerous, and well, they knew they needed one. Many people had lost their lives to the inlet, and the Indians really put a finishing touch to it when they went in and totally destroyed what was left of New Smyrna Lighthouse. It was during the wars, the Indian Wars. They did that, and the lens wasn't there, but the reflecting the reflecting material was there. And you know what they did? They stole that. And one of their leaders was seen over at Dunlawton Plantation wearing pieces of that reflector light in his garb. Well, we need us a lighthouse here. Too many people have just died. They've just died in this terrible, terrible inlet. So, government finally listened to what everybody had been telling them all this time. All the letters, all the people, all the tests. Yeah, well, they decided, all right, we'll use our money to build you all a lighthouse. Finally. And they needed some land to do it on. So they went to Bartola. And they said to him, Mr. Pacetti, we'd like to buy 10 acres of your land to put this lighthouse on. 10 acres? And Bartola, he didn't change his expression. He just come to me and said, Martha Jane, they want to buy our land. Oh, I'm going to charge them a lot. I'm going to charge them a lot. This will change our lives. So he went up to the government people and he said, I'll let you have those acres, but I'm going to charge you $400 for it. 10 acres. And they said, oh, all right, Mr. Pacetti, that's a deal. So that's when the Pacetti boarding house came to life. See, all these folks come down to work on it, all the engineering men, all the workers, and they all had to stay somewhere, and they all had to eat. So I was busy in the kitchen cooking all the time, and the boarding house got bigger and bigger and bigger. Oh my. It took them a long time to build that lighthouse, 3 years and some. Oh, but it was amazing watching it. You know, it's built out of bricks. It is. I ain't never seen a brick in my life. But anyway, I've seen plenty of them now. They come down from Baltimore, you know. They come down on the ships. Great big ships. They can't get into the inlet and come on over to where they need to be, so they just come in close. And then our boats come out and load up with the bricks and so forth and the supplies. And it gave work to so many of the people that were living here too, my sons. Oh, my sons were out there. They were out there working hard. Oh, and it was always quite exciting when a ship would come in. We'd all go down there to the shore and watch, see what was coming in this time, what sort of supplies, and that's why I was there that day. My son Henry went out in his little boat that day to unload bricks from the big ship into his boat. And he had with him his little wife Lulu, just 19 years of age, and she was pretty far gone, pregnant. She was. And he rode out there close to the ship, and close as he could get, and he picked up the anchor from his boat and he tossed it in the water, and then for some godforsaken way it wrapped around his leg, and the anchor went straight down and it tore his leg off. It just tore his leg off. And Lulu, God bless her, she wrapped it best she could to stop the bleeding. And she picked up those oars and she rowed it right back to shore. And we all ran down to them, and we took them both to the boarding house there. And, you know, little Lulu, she went right into her time. Oh, my. Oh, and she delivered us a little baby girl. And then she died. She's just too young. Little baby girl, 1 pound. Took him to the fish scales. 1 pound baby girl. And I knew I'd raise her as my daughter. So I named her Janet. Now everybody calls her Nettie. So she's Nettie Pacetti. And Nettie Pacetti grew up into a fine woman. A woman well known in these parts. a woman who took part in government and so forth. Very strong woman. Now Henry, he lived through that night, and he lived a little bit longer, a few years. Lived long enough to see that his little baby girl was going to live. But he was never quite the same. And then he passed away too. Oh, what times those were. Altogether, 7 people lost their lives building that tower. Building it out of brick, and it got taller and taller and taller until finally it was lighted. You can see that light 20 miles out to sea. 20 miles, it's going to save so many lives, it is. Oh, it's a miraculous thing to see. People come from all around now. They come here. They stay at the boarding house. The hotel. Eat my food, and they go look at that lighthouse, and they go fishing, and they just have a fine time here. A fine time, and we're getting right famous because of it. Yeah, it's keeping me busy, that's for sure. Well, we got our family, you know, our boys are having their families now, and their children. We got grandchildren running all around. And the lighthouse keepers, they got their families. One of them has 11 children. So there's a lot of people living here in Ponce Inlet. You know, they stopped calling it Mosquito Inlet when the fancy people started coming down. Ponce Inlet. So now we got all sorts of folks here. And we got so many children, we got ourselves a 1-room schoolhouse. Isn't that wonderful? 40 people living here in Ponce Inlet. 40 people. Oh, the energy around here is just something. There, the kids are running and playing and laughing. Oh my. Some nights when the work's all done, some nights I go out on the front porch and have a sit down, and Bartola, he comes out with me, and he'll sit down there, and we'll look out at the river. If there's a moon, it's mighty nice. We'll talk about the old days and the new days. Things are mighty exciting around here now. And Bartola says to me, he said, you know, you were just a little Spruce Creek girl when I brought you across that river for the very first time. And it was just the 2 of us living here. And now Pons Park has gotten to be a rollicking place. And that pleased him a good bit. And I looked over at Bartola, and I thought, he's moving a little bit slower these days. Bartola is. And his hair has turned into a beautiful, shiny white. Oh, my goodness. I expect Bartola was about, we're not sure, but I expect he was about 86 years old when he went to meet his maker. Now, Bartola, oh my. Well, the boys made the plans, you know, the boys did, my sons and all, and they decided that the right thing to do was to have him buried up in St. Augustine, where his people were, all the Menorcans. So people came from all around, his friends, his family, people came from Cuba. All of them came up to St. Augustine, getting ready for him to have a fine funeral at the Tolomana Cemetery there. Until the priest had a different idea about it. This priest come up to my sons and said to them, now, I heard that Mr. Bartola Pacetti was instrumental in starting a club for Masons. My son said, well, yes he did. He said, I don't take to any secret societies. So that's one reason why I won't bury him. The second reason, everybody knows that Bartola Pacetti is a hard-living man. And I ain't going to bury him in my cemetery. So my son said, all right, Father. and they went and collected up all the port wine they could. And they poured it into his coffin until he liked to float it in it. And I expect Bartolo was mighty happy with that. And they brought him back to the boarding house. And he's buried out behind there in our family burying ground. And I expect that's where he should have been all along. This way I can go out there. I can go out there and talk to him whenever I have a mind to. And I expect one day there'll be a place for me out there next to him. Might be nice to rest a little bit. But not yet. Not yet, when there's still so much work to be done. And it's time to feed those rich people. So I got to say goodbye to you. It's been nice visiting with you.